this is where I start to think, okay, can we use the social graph for something beyond just content? It's like, can we use it for recommendations? Can we use it for reviews? Can we use it for bookmarking and collections? Can we use it to, when someone's running an event and shares an event, if it's like one of my friends is attending, or one of the people I know, or even someone that I might not be directly connected with, maybe I'm 2 or 3 hops away from them, but we share the same interests, maybe that event gets recommended in my feed. So this is sort of like the idea, or like in a nutshell, of what Satlantis is. It's the first attempt to use a social graph for discovering people, places, and events in like a format that looks and feels familiar, like Instagram. You have a feed, you have a profile, you have a map, and all that sort of stuff, but in a much more healthy way. And the goal of it is to get you to go and do something in real life, to go and meet someone, to go to a cool place, restaurant, cafe, gym, whatever, event, yoga, whatever you want to do, and to go and attend an event, host an event, create an event, whatever, right? Meet up, retreat, whatever. So that's the whole purpose of this thing, to get us off our goddamn devices, because these things, like, they're very useful, but they're becoming cancer. So that's a bit of an overview. It's like, if you could take some elements of Nomad List, the social element of Instagram, the map and curation recommendations element of Google, and the events element of an Eventbrite or Luma, and kind of like not take everything from them, but just like the necessary pieces, and tie them together and glue them together by your social graph. I think there's a huge potential application here that will hopefully change the way people live and travel and coordinate and connect and do all of those things which are necessary for human life.
Cool. It's very nice. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I let you talk because as a UX UI designer, I also like when people talk about digital products. Of course, it's my job. At the end, I work with it, and I really like the approach, or one of the sentences that you say. It's very interesting, like the fact of creating digital products for taking people out of the digital environment, and that's relatively difficult to be done right now. But the reality is that social media, it's sucking us inside instead of
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
social part that it's what it should be doing, no.
Correct.
Nice. Related to that, and maybe also from the from the user experience perspective, no, who is your target audience? It is really like the digital nomads, it's the expats, it's the person who travels just for fun, for, I don't know, for 1 week into a place, or it's all of them.
I think this is something we're discovering as we go. So there's people that are interested for different reasons, and I think what's very important when you're building a social network is you don't want just a specific category of person, because if it's just the nomads talking to the nomads, we may as well just do a WhatsApp group, right? So you want to cross pollinate these different people. You want to have the people who are more into like lifestyle design. You want to have nomads. You want to have the expats. You want to have you want to have the Bitcoiners. You want to have the backpackers. You want to have the people doing like passport bro, and like, I've got 10 passports and 6 residences and taxes and all this sort of stuff. So it's like, you want to kind of like cross pollinate all of these people. The network state movement is sort of happening now as well with Balaji and everything. So there's like, we want to give all of these people something to, where there's like a value in the tool, but then also give them a platform to actually communicate, build audience, and build connection. Because a lot of these different groups, they don't overlap 100% in their values and their ideas, but they overlap maybe between 10 to 50%. And that's an excellent overlap to start creating a social network that cross pollinates. That to me is very interesting. But to kind of answer it more sharply, I would say in the beginning, I think it's going to be more people who are living a kind of like the upper end of the nomads. So I wouldn't say the backpackers. I would say more like people who are a bit more location independent. They've either nomaded already for a little while. They might have a base here or there. They definitely, kind of like remote work. They've already learned what it is that they like, and they're looking for the best picks or the best things to do, and they're looking to deepen their relationships and the connections around the world. They want to build a network of people that they have a shared interest and values with.
Cool. I'm looking at the time, but I have a couple of questions more, so I
Put it
will
in. Let's
take the
go.
time that you're here. I read some of the info that you sent me about the Nostr protocol and the fact
Hmm.
of like users owning their own profiles, etc., etc. It piques my attention a little bit because it's probably the opposite of what the big socials are doing. No, can you explain a little bit more of what is this and why it is important for you to have the Nostr protocol in there?
Yeah, this is such an important piece. So from the beginning of time with the internet, the idea of having identity as a protocol was always the dream of the internet. We never got there. Identity has always been a feature inside an application on top of the internet. So if you look at the internet, it's a set of protocols: TCP, IP, HTTPS, SMTP, right? And there's like four layers of fundamentally the internet. And then applications are built on top. And an application could be anything from Google to Amazon to your internet banking to Uber to whatever, right? Everything on the internet is an application built on these four protocols. And then your identity has always been a feature inside the application. So you have an identity with LinkedIn, you have an identity with Facebook, you have an identity with
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, with Twitter, with all this sort of stuff. So that's good and well, except when you associate a bunch of value to that identity. And when we go to social networks, a bunch of the value is associated to the identity via the connections you make. So you go and you spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years on Instagram or something like that. You build 10, 20, 30,000 followers. There's value in those relationships. And then, I mean, there's three scenarios here. Scenario number one is you get banned. So you lose all your followers. So there's your asset gone. Scenario number two is you don't get banned, but let's say the algorithm changes. So you've built this
Mm-hmm.
whole follower list, and now all of a sudden you're invisible. Nobody sees your stuff because for whatever reason, the algorithm is not, serving your stuff. Number three, though, is you want to take that list and you want to produce other kind of content, something long form or maybe microblogging or something else. So it's like you want to take your Instagram audience and put them on Substack. You can't. It's not your audience. The audience lives in Instagram. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
start from zero on Substack. It's very painful. So what Nostr is it is an attempt to add an extra layer to the topography of the web, which is an identity protocol, whereby the relationships between every other identity lives on the protocol, not inside the application. So with Satlantis, if you go on there and you're building content, you're finding places, you're curating lists, you're doing all this sort of stuff, and you build 5, 10, 50,000 followers over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and for whatever reason, let's say Satlantis blows up tomorrow, and I don't know, me and the whole team, an asteroid comes and hits us, and we're all dead. Um,
Hopefully not.
the, hopefully not. Knock on wood. That would be a really, really bad asteroid.
Also,
Just like
because you
come
are
and kill that.
decentralized and working remote, so it needs to
Mhm.
be multiple asteroids happening at the
Exactly.
same
That would be
time, which is
that would really mean that God doesn't like us. Um, but let's say something happened. The beauty of Satlantis and the beauty of the Nostr network is that, sure, you might lose a bunch of the content that Satlantis served and that Satlantis was allowing a context layer on, but the relationships between every single other user, you can take your key, you can pop it into another Nostr client, and all of your followers, all of your relationships, everything is there.
Hmm.
Um, that is the most important thing. It's not so much about, like, a lot of people frame Nostr wrong. They're like, "Oh, own your data." That's not entirely true because the data is stored on different relays, and the relays don't have an obligation to store your data, so the data can disappear. But the cryptographic relationship between all of the accounts, that's where the value is, and that's what you get. So ultimately, what Nostr kind of looks like is you get the ownership of email. So, when people say in the marketing space, it's like, okay, you're renting your audience on socials. If you want to own your audience, you have to get their emails. So, Nostr is a
Hmm.
little bit like that. You have the ownership of email, but you have the distribution of social.
Okay.
And that's really, really, really powerful. And I believe that this is going to transform the way the internet functions. I think it's going to make for a better internet. It's going to make for a more user controlled internet instead of a corporate controlled internet. And because, if you own the relationships, you get to pick which client you want to go to. And it means that, because now, like, for example, Facebook and Instagram can do whatever the fuck they want because they own your asset, which is your
Hmm.
follower list. So you create these weird incentives. But if you have the incentive where you hold your follower list, it makes the businesses and the apps and everything more honest, because they have to produce something of value for you to keep using the application. That's a way better world. That's a way better world. So I'm hopeful that over time things are going to shift here. And this is by no means, this isn't like a, oh, it's going to happen overnight and next week everything's going to, this is a 5, 10, 15, 20 year progression. But it's literally a re reassertion of the sovereignty and user control of the web, which is what the hell the web was supposed to be in the first place.
That's very cool. I mean, I hope it goes this direction also. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that it's
I mean, it's
getting
going to go
more.
that direction if we get in there and we do the work. That's it.
Exactly.
So, and there's people like me that are building, there's people like you that are producing content. Like, for example, you should take every single one of your episodes, your shorts and everything like that, and you should just start posting on Satlantis or on any Nostr application. Start building that, because then it's your audience. Like, this is how we get this momentum going.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Just looking at the time, and maybe the last question about Satlantis itself. I mean, uh, of course, where the users and listeners can find how they can register for it, but also maybe what is a little bit the current status of the application. Where are you right now? If you can share anything that it's
Yeah, of
coming
course.
rather soon that you want to share with the listeners, to say, hey, stay tuned that this is coming rather. Even though I don't know until how much you can share of your
I
of
can
your
share everything. Yeah.
yeah, good.
So the app is now officially in the App Store, so you can search for it. If you're on Apple, I have noticed something that's happening with people's iOS is when you search for Satlantis, it auto corrects to Atlantis for whatever reason. So you need to go and say, no, 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 I'm not looking for Atlantis. I'm looking for Satlantis. So that's at the top. Alternatively, I'll give you the link so you can put that in the show notes so people can click for
Absolutely.
it. But search for Satlantis on the App Store. The app is further ahead than the web app, so it looks much better. You can post content, you can create an account, post content, select your interests, you can search for places. In the next 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, we're going to release what I consider is going to be one of our flagship features, which is collections. And collections are basically like fancy bookmarks.